Hey everybody, what's happening? It's been a few days since I've been able to work on this thing. I've been working on some cars. But as you can see, I had to take some things back apart here. I got to checking the voltages and everything was fine until I got to the preamp. The bias and everything on the output is fine. It's got 50 volts of bias voltage, which is dead on the money by the schematic, at 110 volts. I'm going to have to probably adjust a couple things. But the issue that I have now is I've got 480 volts on the plates on the 12AX7s, and that ain't no good. I don't want flash bulbs. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing here. I, fa- I found this resistor here. That don't look too good. That's a 15K 1 watt. That's this resistor right here. And this wire comes straight from the standby switch. So I'm thinking that resistor might short out under voltage because that didn't look too good. But I mean, it's a pretty much straight shot. It just comes and then comes to this junction. One side goes through an 82K into this is the phase inverter right here. And then it just goes over and feeds all the rest of them. It's just a big U-shaped trace. I'm not sure about these Zener diodes here. I can't find them on this amp. There's a few things that are different on this amp as opposed to this drawing. There's a couple capacitors that this one doesn't have too. But, I mean, as you can see, it's supposed to be 370 volts coming in to here and then 285 when it goes out to the rest of the tubes. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm checking all that, and I'm gonna try a 20K in there instead of a 15, and we'll see where the voltage is when I get done with that. So everything else looked good. Everything powered up. The channel switching worked the way that it was supposed to. The lights both come on and went off. Before, the green light was like it was like it was back feeding or something. There was something weird going on there. But yeah. I was a little befuddled at first about this, but then I looked at the schematic and something's up with the resistors. I think that's all it is. I did look underneath the board just to make sure that there was no leads under there touching or anything like that. I've got an inspection mirror. I was able to use a flashlight and I could see all the way from this end and see the board back here. So I could see, they say all over the internet, it says that you don't not to pull the boards to work on them. That they're designed not to. That's why. And this was actually a guy that worked at Kitty Hawk that I read I forget what forum it was I read. Because before I started working on this thing, I read up as much information as I could on it. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at. We'll find out here soon. Bye. Or, well, nah, this ain't bye. I just got to check this. I'll be back. Well, it's about 2 hours later now. Maybe just a little more. But I think I figured out what was going on. And it wasn't anything I did either. Which after you do a bunch of work and then you got something weird like 480 volts on the plates on the preamp tubes, it makes you wonder. I went and looked underneath the board with a mirror. I got an inspection mirror. And there wasn't nothing screwed up under there. But what I found was with the standby wiring and the Class A and Class B switching. They had, what I did, they had the standby switch only switching the 500 volt. They had this wire here going down here, which is the 500 volt output from the purple wire goes to the standby switch for the other leg. That's actually this red wire is the one that's out to the amp. And the purple wire is the one that's into it from the power supply. But you gotta have the other leg of it has to be able to switch the 250 volt for the preamp. So I got it working now. I got it at 100 and, well, it's fell down a little bit now. But we'll set it up here. There's 120. I don't have any tubes in it, so, and it's on a current limiter, so the voltages are probably going to be right around where they would be by the time you take the current limiter off and put tubes in it. But, my meter timed out. But yeah, now I've got 284. My battery's just starting to die. The light, that's the battery light flickering there. I got to get a new battery. But, yeah. And then it's got -11 on the -11 for the Class A. And then when you switch that, the bias voltage goes up to -51. 52. And then the plate voltage on the preamp tube still stays at 283. And the plate voltage on the EL34s is 571. That's a little high. The spec in the, but that wiring diagram leaves a little bit to be desired. I think somebody was screwing around with some voltages on there in case somebody tried to copy it word for word and didn't like do the math or know that, hey, this just don't add up. And I think somebody at one time has put a power transformer in this thing, and they would have had to take all these wires off to get that board out of there. And that would kind of all add up to what I found out a little more about this story, and we'll go into all this. But I had forgotten all about it too. I talked to a friend of mine again, and he remembered the amp and him and me getting it and everything. And I had forgotten that the music store that I got it from was a Kitty Hawk dealer. And so I'm pretty sure this was like a warranty reject that they wound up with and then wound up giving the guy another amp or something. I'm not exactly sure. I don't want to say more than I know, but or put out false information. But now the switching and everything works the way that it should. So, like I say, of course, I got a speaker hooked up to it, but that don't matter. But there's no tubes in it. So I got, the voltages are all dead nuts on to the specs now. It says 285 for the voltage on the preamp. The phase inverter, and this is the phase inverter, and it's, get it on there, 284.3. And the voltage on the wiring diagram is 285. So that's all fixed now. Everything, all the voltages are good now. So I'm going to try putting some tubes in it. My guitar is at my guitar guy's house getting worked on. It's, the pick guard was screwed up on it. So I don't really have anything to be able to play through it. I've got a Zoom modeling pedal. I guess it's got a drum machine in it. I could just do that. So anyway, that's about it for now. I'll talk to y'all later. See you. Bye.